You're a startup founder. You think your product is amazing and feel like more people should be buying, but the road is long and slow. It feels like you're stuck. There's always one thing I ask startup founders. Have you talked to your customers? They almost always say, heck yes, we talk to our customers all the time. But what I find is they're either selling or trying to improve their product. These are not customer-focused conversations. If we can get curious about our customers, then we can uncover critical insights that will help us build to the next round. I'm Anna Firmenov, and welcome to Building with Buyers, a show about startup growth where I'll explore how customers help startups build to the next round. Welcome to Building with Buyers. I am star-shocked because I have Amanda, Natividad, on my podcast, and I feel like I've known you forever. You were cool before on social media before anybody else was cool.
That's too kind. Definitely not true.
Well, I mean, the stuff that you said, and you did the face video stuff before anybody else did, like the talking head, right? And like you've been working at SparkToro forever, you're VP of marketing. How long have you been working together with Rand and the team at SparkToro?
This year, I think, is my fourth year.
Fourth year. Okay. Well, 4 can seem like forever when you're doing your slam this week too. So it sounds like there's a lot going on. So SparkToro is a free to try market research and audience intelligence tool. I think it's like really great how easy it is. Like you just literally the onboarding is easy. You go in there, you click from one of your emails to like start a research experience right away. And then the learnings that you get back are instant. So I think it's like a really cool immediate time to value type of tool. You probably agree. I don't know.
Of course, yeah.
I actually wanted to ask you, because I'm also in the realm of research and market research and customer research, I asked Rand, so now people can do deep research using AI tools, right? So what does that mean for you guys? And how is SparkToro thinking about the new landscape now and being different, and what impact does AI have on this work now?
Yeah, so something we're doing at SparkToro now is we do use ChatGPT's API as part of our product offering. Mostly we use search data, clickstream data, and social data, in particular from LinkedIn. And that really makes up the crux of the data, right? Or the research that we give people. We do use ChatGPT for some of the reasoning, right? So now we actually have this new feature, which we're going to call conversational queries, where it's funny because I was talking to Casey, our CTO, about this. And I was like, oh, it's kind of like a chatbot. He's like, no, it's actually not like a chatbot because you're not chatting back and forth. It's actually running a query that is analyzing what you're saying. And also with a conversational query, ideally, SparkToro will serve you up the correct report right away. So using the conversational query, and really this is, I think, one of the best ways for software companies to use AI capabilities is to really try to use it for that reasoning aspect, right? Like using it for that, but then also as you're providing the intel, right, making sure that you're providing validated, accurate information that your users, or for us, that our users who are marketers can make educated, truly informed decisions on. And so what we'll do is, so with a conversational query, the idea is that maybe you would be able to say, hey, I'm looking for people who care about customer retention. But by the way, this is not an e-commerce audience. I'm not looking for insights on D2C e-commerce retention. Specifically, I have a software subscription product, and I really want to better understand customer retention from that perspective, right? So that's going to add some nuance to the term customer retention. And so with SparkToro's conversational queries, that's exactly what we hope to address for people.
Okay. So it sounds like you guys are actually using, as part of the product you're building, you're using AI, and you're using some of the benefits of working through some of that speed to get to answers and some of the abilities that AI, the capabilities that they have, and you're building it into your product. So it's not like it's SparkToro versus AI tools and doing deep research in that way. No, that's not how it is. You're actually enhancing your own tool. Am I right to say that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we do really, really try to we've tested this a lot. We've really tried to make sure we're doing this in a way that is accurate for people, that actually helps them. Because one thing I really want to say is that we are not an AI first company. We are a marketer first company.
What does that mean? Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. So to me, we've heard this a couple times, right? With some companies declaring themselves to be AI first. Like, we are AI driven, we're AI first. This is what we're going to do. We're going to streamline our workforce, blah, blah, blah. Now, the problem that I have with that is when you are a business or a brand declaring yourself to be AI first, what you're actually saying is, hey guys, we really care about our business first. And fine. As a person who is senior leadership at a company, of course I care about our business. I want it to grow. I'm not going to call up all our customers and say, hey, I want our business to grow, right? They don't care, right? So the problem with AI first messaging is you're telling your customers that you care more about AI than them. If I'm telling a SparkToro customer, hey, we're AI first, what does that mean to that customer? Probably nothing, right? Because when I hear AI first, I think cost cutting, automation over human insights, growth at all costs. Those are all things that benefit a business. Doesn't necessarily benefit the customer, right? I suppose it depends on what you're offering. And I suppose if you were to frame your cost cutting, if you were trying to frame that in a positive light, then you have to say what that means for your customer. If you, the business, are saving a ton of money by moving to AI, whatever, are you passing along the savings to your customer? Because if so, then you should, right? And so when I say we are marketer first, what I'm saying is everything we do, we are putting our audience of marketers first. If we're going to use, which we do, right? If we're going to use ChatGPT capabilities, okay, we want to make sure we're doing it in a responsible way that actually helps people, that makes them get better utility out of our tool, right? Like conversational queries, like, cool, like we're happy to try this, right? And see where it goes because we think it could provide a much better and easier customer experience for the people, right, we're trying to serve.
Right, but you're not putting like AI powered or AI first as part of your messaging on your website. And I see this from a lot of companies, especially recently, like in the past year. If you're not AI first or AI powered, what are you anyways? That's what the companies seem to think. But you put it so well that that's company first thinking, not customer first thinking. And then as everybody starts to say that, it's meaningless. So I'm with you.
It is meaningless. It's also just you're taking a business efficiency and trying to get your customers to care, which they don't. It would be like announcing, hey, we're moving from Outlook to Google Business Suite. Like, no one cares, right? It's like saying, hey, we're going to use Notion now for our resource library or our internal documents. Again, nobody cares. Sure, it's a business efficiency, but you don't need to tell everyone that.
Totally. I should put on my website customer powered. I feel like that is what people care about. Your unique superfan customers want to know that your business is powered by them and the things that they need and want and care about. And that's the goal, right? So that's like a really nice segue into the podcast, right? So I'm exploring the role that customers play in helping startups build to the next round or growth, right? Companies build to their next level of growth beyond revenue. I've heard a lot of really cool creative examples already. And so some people might call this customer marketing, having like customer love team. And I don't think that this idea is new. I think that we've lost our way a bit with focusing more on leads and short-term outcomes and just working with different companies and seeing what's going on. And I just have noticed that there's so much more push into the new. net new, right? Versus let's go back and leverage the people that already are obsessed with us, love us. How can we partner with them? How can we collaborate with them? How can we help spread word of mouth? That's the most important to grow. That's the most impactful way to grow, right? So I find that founders like to hide behind their products, like you just said, right? AI first, AI powered. But the thing that makes you unique is not your product. There's so many companies, especially today, solving the same problem that you're solving, and they have customers too. So the thing that makes you unique is your super fan customers. Or if we expand that, it's the audience, especially if you're new and you've got an audience, you don't have customers, right? It's the audience stuff. So that is your moat. I just had this conversation on the show and actually talked about this specific point, and I love it. I'm just going to keep repeating it, that the thing that makes you unique is your superfan customers. That's your moat. So here's what I want to ask you. Well, let's just talk about audience research versus customer research. Let's start there because I focus on customer research, but you focus on audience research. And I think that it would be nice to help the listener understand, like, what's the difference between the two. So I'll let you kind of talk through audience research.
Yeah. So I see audience research as the broader bucket that customer research lives in, right? Because when you think about audience research or you think about the audience, that is your whole audience, which goes beyond customers, right? It's inclusive of customers, but an audience would include prospects. It would probably include journalists, niche creators, analysts, investors, competitors, right? Not that you're marketing to competitors, but they are part of it, right? But also your potential co-marketers, or maybe we can say co-opetition, right? The people who share your audience or who might share your customer base, but who you don't have a competing product with. My favorite example here is if you think about a beauty brand, right, a skincare product and a hair care product. They might have similar audiences or similar people, right, in their marketing ecosystems, but they're not directly competing with each other. So all of those people or entities live within audience research. And so where I think it's important is it's because it's inclusive of the way you look at your whole audience and the way you think about the things that influence them, especially towards how they make a purchase decision or how they decide to stay with you, right? The retention aspect.
Okay, that was my thinking too. Like, audience research is broader. What also comes to mind, and actually like the thing I just mentioned, and I'm like, who's the person I just had on the show? Emily Kramer was on the show with me. We talked about how your superfan customers are what makes you unique, not your product. That's your moat. She also talked about ecosystem marketing. And I think that really does tie into audience research, which is like your ecosystem, which is like all of the people beyond your customers that tie back to the product you're building, that are interested to talk about it, that are interested, that share more about it. Maybe they're not direct buyers, the co-marketers, whatever it is. And so that was an interesting topic as well. And I think ties back to what you mentioned about audience research and how it's more broad. Going back to customers, in what ways do you leverage customers as part of your growth efforts at SparkToro? And I want to talk about maybe some one or two things that go beyond case studies, because case studies is like the tip of the iceberg. Of course, you want to have testimonials. Of course, you want to have case studies. That's a great way to leverage customers. But going beyond that, anything that you do with your customers that impacts growth.
Let's see. This is tough to answer because there's more that I wish I could be doing that I just don't really have the bandwidth for, because I think customer marketing, the process of marketing with your customers, for your customers, I think it can be a really complex discipline. I think it's super important. And I also think that there's just a lot to be covered there, right? There's a lot of nuance you need. And there's a lot of boundary consideration, right? Because I think you as the marketer really need to internalize, like, these people don't work for you. So even if you're asking for a case study and you think, oh, but it's cool for them, they get to be highlighted on our website, a lot of people don't care about that, right? They might just say, like, oh, that's nice, but what does it do for them? And so I actually think of things like case studies, right? Or even just getting a testimonial from someone. I don't know if I'm in a marketer who's in the minority here, but let's just say getting a quote from your customer. Even that I feel like is actually a huge ask, right? Because you're asking someone to do you a favor and they don't work for you. So I think it's tough. I think it's super important and I think it's hard to do. But other ways, and I so agree with you that something like a case study is the tip of the iceberg. Of course they're important, but there's so much you could be doing, right? And adding to that nuance. Like maybe you don't have the bandwidth to do a really, really good case study. Because I do think to do a truly effective, thorough case study, I honestly think that to do it right or get one killer case study, those only happen like once or twice a year. I really, really think that. I think a lot of people would probably push back and say like, no, you have like a ton of engaged customers who like really want to work with you. I would say, yeah, but you need to find someone who's going to like kind of hit all those check boxes of like having like great proof points, really showing ROI, VOI or value on investment, like all those things.
What would you do if had the time? I see your point. Testimonials aren't just kind of like, here you go, I'll talk about you, right? It doesn't always come easy. I think it comes easier when it's somebody that is obsessed with what you're doing, right? Your super fans, the people that are just like, I cannot live without you. I'd be horrified if you shut down, right? Because my life is so different and you've changed it and stuff like that. But just thinking about what would you want to do that you just don't have the bandwidth for? Any thoughts on that?
Oh, I love this question. Because now I'm going to take this and be like, what would I do if I had unlimited bandwidth and resources? So what I would do is I would shoot for those 1 to 2 kind of white whale case studies, the ones that really meet all your business goals, marketing goals. They're a great co-marketer, right? They're somebody who you kind of feel like is your professional bestie, someone who you feel comfortable just calling on the phone and saying, hey, a reporter wants to talk to you. Do you have time today? Those are the ideal types of case study partners. I would really try to get 1 or 2 of those, we'll say at least 2 each year. And then I would really think about all the ways in which I can have my customers kind of power all aspects of my marketing, right? So I would also think about, okay, in this case study, can I use all these insights from this case study to create product tutorials or guides? Like, can I create a guide or, whatever the asset is, right? On how someone else, another customer, can be just like this one. Here's what you can learn from this really successful customer. Here's what you can do today. I would do that. I would really try to partner with them on events, and I would think beyond webinars. I think that's great. I think that's part of it. You could do a case study webinar, but I would also think about like, are there strategic markets for us at SparkToro? And if there are these strategic markets, do we have a good case study partner or a great customer who we can partner with on an event there? Can we host a roundtable together? Host a local event where it's a free event. Maybe it's like a happy hour with like a short fireside chat or something like that, right? And then have the goal be like, hopefully we get like at least 50 people who care about this mission, right? And this outcome, and really just try to meet them, get on their level, meet them where they are. And I would also just think about like what other content opportunities are there. I'm not going to say like, can we have them guest blog? I think that is a really lazy way to go about it. I would think about, well, what are the articles that I'm going to write? And then how can I pull in these thought leaders or these subject matter experts and elevate them and help them shine, but in a way where it's like, it's very mutually beneficial.
Yeah. Couple things. You guys have an event coming up, Spark Together, in October. Do you bring customers to that event by any chance or no?
Yes and no. I mean, I'll say no, but you can't come, not that. We don't tend to have customers who are speaking at the event because we just don't want people to feel like they paid for a ticket to go to like a SparkToro case study session.
Right.
It just so happened that one of last year's speakers had really good success with our tool. And I think, it's also like, a lot of our speakers are customers in the sense that like, they use our tool. They get value out of our tool, helps them with what they do, but we don't have them speak on how did SparkToro change your business?
It's going to be completely different. I'm going to this event and I'm very excited because I've heard wonderful things. It's not recorded and whatever happens at Spark Together stays at Spark Together. So it's one of those. And it's like a smaller, intimate group from what I understand. So The other thing I was going to mention, the two ideas that you had that you would love to work on. One is actually doing the customer event. So that's something that Natividad has done. They did that last fall and it was very successful. And they just focused this event on their customers and bringing their customers in and ideating with their customers and having customers present how they use the tool and learning from them, like new ways, different ways, and customers learn from customers. And that was like super cool. So yes, I highly recommend it. I was there as an advisor and kind of partner and learning about how customers are using the tool as well, and did a presentation there too. The other idea that you had was like create an article or create a report and then seamlessly kind of integrate customer testimonials or customer data into it. And that's also something Natividad does. Every year they do a buyer first best practices report where they're surveying SaaS companies, and they just did like qualitative research as well, new this year, talking about who is actually being buyer first, meaning how easy is it to navigate their website to figure stuff out, like what's the pricing, what's the packaging, what is this tool, like how easy is it for me to experience it, to actually get hands-on access into it, right? So they do this report and then they integrate their customers and have their customers speak to some of the stuff that they're able to do because of Natividad, right? Because Natividad helps companies to put the interactive demo experience on their website. And that's cool for buyers because you get to jump right in. You don't have to pay for anything. You don't have to put in any information. You just jump right in and test drive the tool. So that's the theme. That's kind of how they've done it. So those two ideas kind of popped up for me where it works well. So I love those. How do you use SparkToro at SparkToro?
So for instance, I'll analyze our URL, like SparkToro.com, and be like, okay, what are people who visit our, so that I can uncover the insights of, for the people who visit our website, what are the other keywords they're searching for online? What are the topics that they're thinking about, right? So I'll look at search keywords. I'll look at the trending keywords. So like what's been trending over the past couple of months. That's interesting to me. I'll also use it for like double checking like which social networks, search and AI tools, or just websites or apps that our audience is using. And it's also so that I know where to kind of level set our efforts, right? Because then I can see, okay, they're really using LinkedIn more so than the average web user. So it makes sense to me, even just that, right? I'm a team of one. Where's my presence going to have the most impact? I know it's LinkedIn. And it's true. Anything that SparkToro or I post, it does pretty well, right? We can usually reasonably attribute it to activity on our website. Usually we see that like the referral string is hidden, but just based on the activity patterns, we can surmise like, okay, this posted really well for us on LinkedIn. Therefore, we can see people are going to this blog post or, whatever the asset is. I definitely use it for those content ideas. It's what's given me ideas for some of our recent content. Like recently, I created a guide on finding your target audience. So it's all centered around like, okay, you have an idea, like you have a market for your product, but how do you find your target audience? So it's related to audience research, right? But it's kind of not exactly that. But I wrote this really, really long guide on it, probably our longest one yet. And it's now doing pretty well for us. Like people are actually going to it. It's ranking in search. People are clicking on it. So that's doing well. And I got that by way of looking through the data in SparkToro and about SparkToro to understand where to focus my content marketing efforts. So that's one. But I also want to add, we just launched a new update where you can analyze a specific URL now. So it's not even just the general domain, because that's how it was before. People who go to SparkToro.com, what are they doing? Now we can, and I just started doing this yesterday because it's very new. Now you can copy and paste an individual URL. So I took one of our top performing blog posts, and it was an audience research guide. And I put that into SparkToro to be, okay, people going to this blog post, what else are they doing online? Where are they frequenting? Like what podcasts do they listen to? What are their other search keywords? So I need to go back to it and see, but I think that's also going to dictate my next steps on our content marketing strategy.
Hey, it's Anna, host of Building with Buyers. I started the show because I found that customers play such an important role in business growth, but they're often overlooked. We're so focused on net new. But the thing that makes you unique is not your product. There are so many companies solving the same problem, and they have customers too. The thing that makes you unique is your superfan customers. That's your moat. Most positioning and messaging is guesswork. I'm a customer insights and strategy advisor, and I help my clients by interviewing their customer superfans and translating those insights into clear and compelling positioning and messaging that specific people care about. So you get deeper engagement with customers and prospects, increased inbound to demos, better sales conversations, increased word of mouth, and closed deals. If you're done guessing, stumbling along, and want to be more customer obsessed, reach out. I'd love to help. And now, back to the episode.
That's interesting. So you're saying people that visit SparkToro.com, you're going to get audience research insights that are maybe different from the people that are visiting that specific article.
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly. Okay. Interesting. Like, I don't know if you've looked at it, but is there anything that has popped out for you? Or I guess like this just launched, so maybe you didn't look at the insights yet, but that's interesting because like, what would be different? What do you think would be different about the people reading the article?
Yeah, I think we're seeing, and this was something we launched last night. So it is,
sorry,
as we're recording
fresh.
this. No, it's fine. It's very fresh, right? So I haven't been able to do any kind of side-by-side Excel or pivot table comparison. But what I was seeing was that when I analyzed this specific blog post, I was seeing that like the tools or websites that those viewers frequent were just more niche, right? They were just more like marketing specific. So that was pretty cool, especially because if you're a lean team or if you have a lean budget, sometimes the nichier you can get, the better, right? Because it won't help you to know, oh, like, look, if you're a small business, maybe even a medium-sized business, and if you find that your audience also goes to HubSpot.com, that will probably do nothing for you, right? It might give you a sense of which audiences to target on paid social, like it might. But in terms of how you identify your next co-marketers or how you identify your next PR opportunity, that's probably not going to be that helpful. Like I would rather see, is there like a super niche podcast like that's related to this thing? Or do I have to just like try to market with Salesforce?
Totally. Amanda, I've been exploring this more in terms of customer research. When I talk to customers, of course, we focus more on their goals and challenges at work and their buying experience and what was the trigger that made them like search this thing up and talk to other people about it and then the actually purchasing and all that stuff. But when I cover the part of like, where do you consume content? What social media channels are you on? What do you listen to? What are you reading? I'm kind of going broader and I'm trying to understand things like, oh, interesting. You listen to that comedian on that like weird podcast. And that's interesting because, well, we never thought about being funny, but it seems that like people keep talking about this one comedian and like this one podcast that they just like relax and listen to every week. That's really cool. That's really useful insights. So it broadens your ability to be creative around content and the content that you put out.
And I really want to add on to that comedian example. I think that's a good example because if you really think, it depends on the comedian too, right? Because I see comedians as sort of modern day philosophers. And so if I were to see that my audience gravitates towards a specific comedian, I would be very curious about that comedian's political leanings, the ways in which they deliver their jokes, or even just what is the nugget of truth or the philosophy or worldview behind their jokes, right? Because let's say it's a kind of comedian who jokes about women are always shopping.
They are. Jeez.
That's going to tell me a lot about that audience base. It just will, right? So I think that's a fascinating way to think about it too.
How would you use that insight? Like, what would you create a report around how are women always shopping? Or what would you do with that information?
I suppose there could be two answers to this. There's what would Amanda do? And Amanda, what I would do is I would probably spend the next couple of days deep diving and nerding out on all their stand-up specials because I am a weird nerd. Is that what people should do? Probably not. It's probably not a great use of time. No, but I would think about like, could this inform the tone, right, of the way I talk to customers? What other truth is there that I could tap into for our next campaign? If there is a thing about women in shopping, then, and let's just, I don't know, this is a weird example, but let's just go with it for now.
Go with it.
I would start wondering, like, is it true? One, is it true? Do women shop more than men? Two, what are they normally shopping for? Why are they shopping? What problems are they trying to solve? And as a woman who likes to shop, I would say personally, I am solving a million problems every day, right? I am solving for the problems of my health, my fitness, my child's health, the upcoming vacation we have where they're going to need waterproof boots, waterproof hiking boots. I'm thinking of that. I'm thinking of the next purchase, which is going to be summer camp. I'm buying that. What are they going to need for summer camp? Well, they're probably going to need water shoes. They're probably going to need multiples of the same t-shirt for summer camp. So those are all shopping behaviors, right? But those are really specific problem-solving shopping behaviors. That's different from, I feel like buying new clothes for myself. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's a different purpose. So those are the things I would be thinking about. Not to mention the fact that women are usually running their households. So when they're doing all the shopping, chances are they're doing all the shopping for everybody in their household.
Yeah, because no one else is doing it. Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to buy all this stuff, right? Amanda, are you with me? Like, come on. That's why they're doing all this shopping. I love that. And I wanted to circle back on the exploration around in-audience research and using SparkToro. And you can find out all these cool things about people that go beyond your company and your product. Just, I love that stuff. I love nerding out on that stuff too. And I do that, but I do that. I mean, you can ask in qualitative interviews. It's just that now I think what your tool is great at is beyond your superfan customers, who I believe companies need to be talking to because these people, for whatever reason, decided to go with you and like put their money down, and especially early stage startups. But beyond your superfan customers, who else is out there? Who else is a prospect and has potential to be a customer and just hasn't become one yet? So I think that's where you can leverage SparkToro to go beyond those customer conversations. What do you think? Is that kind of how you think about it? I think like using the two, do the customer qualitative conversations and use SparkToro for that added layer of audience research. You can get so many cool insights and work from there and nerd out from there and have creative ideas from there around content and channels that could work for you.
And I would also think about the ways, even like the small ways in which you can use one to validate the other. Because that's something I'm reminded by often is the whole idea of, I read the Wall Street Journal. I think about this a lot because when I think about the origin of Morning Brew, Alex Lieberman and Austin Reef, they were in college when they started Morning Brew, and they were going around, I think, asking other students on campus what they were reading or what they wanted to read, and basically came up with, okay, these students, they read or want to read the Wall Street Journal. So we're going to make a newsletter that makes it more accessible for them. And that's basically what Morning Brew is and what it's built upon. Now, today, if you were to ask maybe a millennial what they read, they might say it's the Wall Street Journal. That may or may not be true, right? We don't know. But what might be the case is that they're actually reading Morning Brew, which is also probably linking to the Wall Street Journal where it makes sense. And it wouldn't mean that anybody's lying. It could be just that they're like, yeah, I know the Morning Brew. Like they'll report on things, they'll link to the Wall Street Journal, they'll report on the Wall Street Journal stories. Like, yeah, I read both. And I think a lot of people think that way, and where they might be accidentally lying to you.
So, yeah, I think about this all the time. Like when I do my customer research interviews and I ask questions and I try to create a safe space, right, in the very beginning, like I do with my podcast attendees, right? There's no right or wrong answer. We're just having a casual conversation because it's true. There is no right or wrong. It's just, I want to learn about their experience. I don't think in B2B, like people are out there to lie to you as much. I just don't know if people know sometimes, right? Like if I ask them, well, what was the trigger that made you want to look into this and solve this problem? And they'll be like very logical about it. And I try to kind of like go deeper into the different layers. I think audience research, you guys actually pull data from behavior, right? Like behaviors that are actually happening versus people telling you something when you ask them a question. So that's where you can double check, right? I think that's what you're saying, right? You can actually double check, like what I'm hearing from customers, is that actually coming up in this research, this audience research? That's very cool. How do you pull that information? Now I'm fascinated by that. If I type in a company website, because the insights come back so fast, like here's who's visiting the website, and this is like other websites they visit, and this is like other channels that they visit. And how does it do that? Maybe you can't tell me because that's like the secret sauce.
Well, our data sources include clickstream data, search data, and social data. So clickstream data is an opt-in panel of users where we can take their anonymized website journeys, or not website journeys, but internet journeys. And we'll use things like search data to enhance the insights around like, well, what else are they searching for online? Like literally, what are they Googling? And then we also use social data to enhance the insights with respects to their demographic information. So one way to think about it is it's sort of like on our back end, we create a profile because we don't use actual people. You know what I mean? Like it's all anonymized on aggregate. So we'll kind of create a profile of like internet user 12. And it's what they are searching for, the keyword of customer retention, what are the other things they're doing online. And then we use all the other data pieces to validate this profile. And so that we know, like, oh, this is an actual person. Internet user 12 is searching for customer retention, B2B, how to use profit well, right? Like that's what they're searching for. So maybe that's kind of the best way I can explain it. I just work in marketing. I'm not the CTO.
No, I totally get it. But that's why I'm talking to you about it, not the CTO, because you can explain it in a way that I also can understand. So yeah, that makes sense. Why aren't companies doing this research? You guys are being used by plenty of companies out there, plenty of people out there. But for the people that aren't using SparkToro, shouldn't everybody be doing this research? I think about that all the time for my own work too. Companies don't do customer research on a regular basis. They might do it way more in the beginning. They do the audience research stuff, right? Because they're like, okay, we need to figure out, we're launching this, we're building this thing. Who do we sell this thing to? Okay, well, we're talking to people and getting insights so that we can launch it. And then the thing gets launched, the product is out there, and then they have customers. And then they just keep going and they never do the customer research. This happens all the time. Why don't companies do audience research? What's your take on that?
I think there are two reasons. The first one is that there's no universal standard by which audience research is done. So something like keyword research, when you say that, most marketers know, oh, you use a tool like Moz or Ahrefs or SEMrush, and then you go and you find high volume keywords, you export the list. Most marketers know at least directionally what that is. When you say audience research, none of that comes to mind. There isn't a universal standard by which somebody would go, oh yeah, you got to go here, do this thing, export that, voila.
Did you write an article about that? I'm just curious because I feel like that would be the perfect report or like article to write on.
Yes, I do have a couple of articles on this.
That's what I figure. Okay.
Yeah. So we have an audience research guide and we have an executive buy-in article on like why it's hard to get executive buy-in. And then the other reason is when there's no universal standard for this, then there's no obvious stakeholder for it, which also means it's everybody's problem to do audience research, which then means it's nobody's problem. If it's everybody's problem, nobody's going to do it. Something like keyword research, it's clear the content marketer has to do that. The SEO strategist has to do that, right? It's clear who that is, who that belongs to. But when audience research informs everything that the business does, right? Because it informs go-to-market strategy, it informs who you're talking to, how you talk to them, the PR or the media publications you pitch, the way you go about performance marketing, right? It touches all these things. And so it's not clear who would do the research. So that's the other issue.
So, yes, Amanda, that makes so much sense. I think there's one idea that I wanted to talk about briefly where with customer research, there's a nuance. Customer research, who does that? It's the same problem. Well, it's product. Product is doing customer research, but sure they are, right? But there's a nuance I don't think people realize, which is, yes, you want your customers to help you build your product so you can sell and get more customers. That's usually what companies will say. Yes, we're doing customer research. It's the product person, right? It's the UX researcher. But you need to know your customers beyond just the product you're building. And that's where we've lost our way. And I feel like we should just sometimes I think we should change the role product marketing because the focus is so much on product to customer marketing. Maybe then that will help solve this problem. Or like I mentioned, customer love, create a team that's for larger companies. You should have a customer love team. And then for sure, you'll be doing customer research in the way I'm describing. But there are a lot of bad habits that I've been seeing, and it ties back to founders that are more product focused, that are calling their product AI. See, we're coming full circle. AI powered, AI first, right? Very product focused. And the person that's doing customer research is the product person, supposedly, but it's only focused on product stuff. That's what I find is that people say they're doing this research and it lands on the product person. But coming back to your point of if everybody should be doing this because it hits on the entire business, then nobody's going to be doing this, which is an interesting idea. Let's talk about your podcast. It's called Meme Team. Tell me, why'd you decide to start a podcast? Because I think it's brand new. And how's it going so far?
Yeah. So at the time of this recording right now, we actually just launched it 6 days ago. So it's still very, very new.
Wow. Everything I bring up on this episode is fresh.
It happened an hour ago. It's new, but we have 4 episodes out now. And the way it started was my friend Sonia. So I co-host the show with Sonia Bechez. Sonia reached out to me several weeks ago, or let's say a couple months ago. And she was like, hey, I have an idea for a podcast. I've been thinking about starting one, really want to focus on the marketing headlines. Would you listen to that? And she was doing customer research, so to speak, right? She was picking her friends who work in marketing to kind of test her idea and be like, do you think people want this? Would you want this? And for myself, I had been wanting to start or restart a podcast over the past 2 years, but there were certain parameters that I had for myself. I wanted to have a co-host. I wanted to have a good partner in it. I also wanted to find a partner who we could share the workload, And I wasn't also trying that hard to find a partner in this. But when Sonia mentioned it, I was like, it just kind of a light bulb turned on in my head. And I was like, yes, but only if I'm in it with you. So I asked her about hey, I actually also want to start a podcast. I've also been thinking about, is there something we can do around what's happening in the news or in business and what the marketing implications are? Our visions really ended up meeting each other where they were. And I was like, so would you be interested in just doing this together? And I was even like, you can say no, because I understand that it's weird that you asked me as a friend, hey, would you listen to this show? And I'm the one saying, yes, but take me with you. And so, but
so direct, Amanda.
Exactly. I was like, let me in. And yeah, she was down. We were off to the races from there, because then we were like, let's get started on things while we're both excited and just see where this takes us. And our first episode, we were even like, let's just do this as a practice run. Like if it sucks, it sucks. We can just delete it and move on. But when we recorded, we were like, this isn't terrible. I think this could see the light of day, I think. So we just kept moving forward and forward because we were like, we got to do this until we launched. And I mean, so far it's already been a lot of fun. Sonia and I work really well together because we both have strengths that the other doesn't necessarily have. So I think we're very complementary. And we both just are really interested in business and marketing. So it's a fun show where we kind of not riff because we are mindful and thoughtful about it, but we'll both bring a couple topics to the table and we'll each lead the discussion on our topic. So just to kind of give it more direction, right? And then we'll talk about the marketing or business implications, what went well, what didn't. And we do try to give some actionable takeaways so that people listening can think about like, how can I use this? Like, what does this mean for me?
Did I read that right? That you're trying to pull out things that are happening, like current events, but related to business growth and marketing and like things going viral and kind of exploring what went well and why did that go so well, or what didn't go well and why it didn't go well?
Yeah, you said it better than I did.
Okay.
So I'll say,
cool.
We called it Meme Team because we talk about the marketing.
Memes go viral. Yeah.
Yeah. So with Meme Team, we talk about the marketing logic behind what goes viral.
That's really cool. That's really interesting. Okay, so the listener listening to this show, check out Meme Team. I'm going to listen to it. I'm fascinated. When clients ask me, here's a challenge that we have, I like to actually share podcast episodes because I've done 200 plus by now. And there is always somebody that said that thing or that tried that thing and it worked for them, or a concept or something from an episode that I can just like share and they can listen to it. And that goes beyond just my podcast if I hear it somewhere else on another show. So listen to Meme Team. Amanda, I don't have time to answer your question unless it's a quick one, but I wanted to ask you, do you have any questions for me?
What is one thing I can do to better market or grow my podcast? I mean, you have a ton of experience in this. So I'm curious what your advice would be to me, somebody who is a pretty new podcaster.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, you're launching a product. That's basically what it is. It's a product launch, but it's not a product. It's a podcast. And you have a pretty sizable audience already. So it makes sense for you to launch it when you already have so many people that know about you, that love the content you put out on LinkedIn. Are you on YouTube too?
We are, yeah.
Okay. So is Meme Team tied to SparkToro, or is this something just you're doing for yourself for fun?
Just for me, for myself.
Is your goal just to grow listeners because it's for yourself? It's nothing to do with SparkToro. You're trying to grow listeners. Let me get back to you on the recommendation and I'll record a bonus episode and I'll answer this question. Yeah, I like to do that sometimes.
That's cool. Oh, it could be like a beginner, like a podcast, like for beginners.
Yes, I have an episode from way back that is how I launched my podcast in 10 steps. So I'll share that with you. But beyond that, you had asked me like basically, how do you market this thing? How do you grow your listeners? And that is not something I've recorded before. So I will create a bonus episode. If anybody wants to find Amanda, she is on LinkedIn, Amanda Nat. It does not have your full name there. Amanda, N-A-T. To go find SparkToro, you should. It's at SparkToro.com. And also don't forget to check out the Spark Together event in October. Go to SparkToro.com/SparkTogether. And Amanda, it was awesome to chat with you about all things. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. We covered a lot of ground, so.
We did.
Thank you, Anna.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Building with Buyers. New episodes drop weekly, so make sure you're following wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me on LinkedIn, Anna Furmanov. Visit my website to learn more about how to turn customer insights into positioning and messaging your buyers will understand. FurmanovMarketing.com. And don't forget to leave a review if you're loving the show.